And welcome into the RinkWise Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Marinofsky. No Patrick Donnelly today, unfortunately. I don't know what he's doing, but he's decided to ditch us. But fortunately, we're joined by the head coach at Avon Old Farms. It's Mark Naclerio. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Evan.
I said to you when we joined, I said, you are outclassing me today. I'm in, I got a t-shirt on, if people watching on YouTube, sort of like a warm, I don't want to call it a sweater, but something over me. You're in a suit and you look damn good, Mark. You said every day Avon has to wear a suit, so that's what you're rolling with.
Yeah, that's our classroom dress. So it requires coat and tie, and everybody wears it through the class period. And then, able to get out of it once class ends.
That's awesome. How's your fall been? What's the fall hockey slate looking like for you? How often are you getting out to rinks and checking it all out?
Yeah, doing as much as I can. With prep school, it's you wear a lot of different hats. So being in the admission office, doing tours throughout the week, occasionally on Saturdays, doing some duty crew and some dorm checks, things like that. But try to get out as much as I can and checking on our guys and also get a look at some of the younger players at the tournaments going around New England.
You were not a player all that long ago. I mean, you were at Avon in the late 2000s. Are you surprised? I mean, you've been in it for a while now. I mean, you were at South Kent for a bit. We'll get into that later. But I'm curious, that was only, 16-ish years ago? Like, are you surprised at how fast the fall landscape has shifted around?
Yeah, I think every year there's new ideas, new things coming into play. When I was here, to be completely honest, at Avon, I was lucky if we got on the ice once in the fall. The ice was in; it just wasn't part of the conditioning program like we have now. And so we did do split season, and so I remember leaving on weekends to go play some games. But the development's just changed a lot. People are on the ice much more all throughout the fall. I think it's helped supplemented, the high school season, and so. It's good to see. I think it's important to be ready to train and ready to go once the season comes.
Why do you think that is? That it's? I mean, do you think it's a prep hockey shift, Mark? That as if one team starts conditioning a ton in the fall, everybody else follows, or do you think it's something different that's popped up in hockey development over the last couple of years?
I think it's a combination. I mean, I think families are becoming more specialized with their sons and daughters on sports, and they become, the youth landscape in general has just become a year-round type of a thing. And so in order to stay in competition with that, schools have shifted to allowing those opportunities for the students to be able to focus on a sport for more than one season. And right or wrong, that's just the reality of it. We still require our guys to play another sport in the spring, which I think is beneficial. Give yourself a break. Use some different muscles, be on a different team and compete, and have fun with it. And I think it's worked out well for us.
Yeah, a lot of baseball and lacrosse players. I don't think you have to convince many hockey players to play those sports. They always seem to fall into those categories. It's interesting. Now you see these leagues popping up in the fall, prep teams playing together, whether it be kind of as themselves or as an established fall team like the Whalers or the Central Mass Penguins or whatever it is. I'm curious if you guys at Avon have kind of had those talks and have thought about it and just sort of where you guys are at. I mean, you guys have a lot of Mid-Fairfield kids or Yale Junior Bulldog kids. I'm curious like how your players and your families have sort of looked at fall hockey and where they want it to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's always some logistical stuff that you have to work through. We've actually, in the last year or so, have shifted where a lot of our guys are playing with the Nor'easter down the road in Simsbury. So it's about 15 minutes from us. They're able to do some Friday games there. They've had some Connecticut hockey tournament games there as well. And then on top of that, they'll still go up to Massachusetts and play some of the teams. But we want to try to get the guys playing together as much as they can. So we have a good amount of our players on that 18U team, even some of the guys that are probably eligible for 16U. So I think it's good to help build the chemistry. But if you take a look at a lot of the teams that have had success, they do play together in the fall, and I think it can be a big benefit for them. So we've looked at different options, and we're working through it every year. But, we think this is a great fit right now. The guys can still hopefully compete for nationals and go out there. And for us, we want to give them the best exposure. And I think that helps with a lot of the colleges, and also play, really good high level competition.
It's funny. It feels like that is the balance right now, especially for bigger prep schools or teams that are in, I don't want to say metro areas, but not super far out there. I mean, Avon's not far from Hartford. I'm not a Connecticut expert, but I believe it's not too far from Hartford.
Right.
And I mean, New England's relatively close anywhere. I always get a kick out of people like, in Minnesota, like, oh, that's a 9-hour drive. I'm like, you don't have that in New England, thankfully.
Right.
But it feels like that's sort of, I know with Metro Boston schools, and same with schools in non-rural areas in Connecticut, is like you can play with a team like the Nor'easters, and it's not like formal and official, like this is Avon's team, but you're right. Like that team is mostly Avon players, a couple Salisbury kids sprinkled in, or a Deerfield kid, but like pretty much mainly Avon. That feels to me like the happy medium, so to speak. And I wonder if in the next, like I've talked about this on some other podcasts, I wonder when we see, or if we ever see, movement from that happy medium. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, well, I think some teams are still doing it that way, but a lot are starting to join their fall league, where I believe, we're not doing it, but I believe they're playing with the majority of what's going to be their team. Ultimately we have tryouts in November, and so for us, team's not set till then, and so we're giving guys that are incoming to Avon the best opportunity to join a fall split season team if that's something that they're pursuing. And, we help connect them with the coaches, and, ultimately leave it up to them to decide what the best fit is. And logistically, we want to help them as best we can too. But it's ever evolving. I think with all of hockey now, it's really hard to predict what it's going to look like, 3, 4, 5 years from now. But I think a lot of schools are starting to try to get their kids to play together, and just have seen the trend of the success teams that have been doing that have had, and it does make sense.
Do you notice when you guys are recruiting kids or looking at kids, is that something that comes up with families of like, we want them to play more than, just 3 months or kind of play together in the fall, or is that not something that has been a huge topic?
Yeah, most kids want to understand how the fall works. Their hope is to play hockey from end of August, early September through till hopefully March, depending on how the season goes. So yeah, they're all looking to play. We don't get many kids at all that are looking to just start up in November. The days of being a football player, hockey and baseball player, I think are a little bit behind us. Right or wrong, again, that's just the reality of it. So we still emphasize that 2-sport athlete, but want to accommodate our hockey players by giving them an option in the fall as well.
Were there a lot of kids when you were at Avon who played football, or no?
Even then, no, it was starting to shift. We did have some soccer kids though. We had some pretty good athletes. Yeah. So there were a lot of kids that did do 3 sports, some tri-varsity athletes, a lot more than we have now, unfortunately. But yeah, it definitely was a little bit more popular then.
Well, it's crazy. Like that kid Mason West with the Blackhawks, the first rounder for Chicago last year, who's also like a potential Big Ten quarterback. It's like that dude is just a different breed. If you're doing that, I mean, that is absolutely crazy. I don't recommend the football to hockey pipeline. It's a little too much physical contact. You've been head coach at Avon now for this will be year 2. What's that transition been like for you? And what have you noticed going from the differences in being an associate head coach to being the head coach?
Yeah, obviously it's more responsibility. You have the ultimate say at the end of the day. I'm fortunate that I had been able to learn from the greatest high school hockey coach of all time, and John Gardner. He's a mentor, friend. I was fortunate I had him for 2 years. I can't say enough great things about him in the program that he's built here at Avon, because he's built this from the ground up and has made it into what it is today. And my hope is just to continue that tradition, and honor him in every step of the way. But it's been a very fortunate experience. I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I have a great staff with me as well. That helps me out a ton. And, we look to just give the kids the best experience possible and help develop them as good young men, first and foremost. So everything away from the rink, but also into good hockey players as well.
Why do you think John was so effective at building your program up and for so long? And just like his track record is insane. Why do you think, like, you played for him, you coached for them? Why do you think he was so successful?
Well, he's obviously a great, mind of the game. He understands the game really well. He was always learning, getting new trends and understanding what still worked, even if it was something that he used to do years ago. But I think most importantly, he was just a master of understanding teenage boys, right? He just knew how to connect with them. He connected very well with humor, but he also knew how to be very hard on them and just gain their respect. I mean, at the end of the day, you wanted to play for him and you wanted to win for him, and you'd run through a wall for him. And I remember that as a player, just to play for somebody that, the name of John Gardner was a special thing and something that I cherish. So I think he just really knew how to connect well with the guys, and because he did so much more at Avon. He was the associate head of school for a long time. He served in every capacity, so he got to know the kids really well, away from the rink and on a personal level. And I think that ultimately really helped when it came time to coach them in the winter, because he had built that rapport and gotten their respect and was able to get the most out of them.
How hard is it to connect with teenagers in general, but to connect with teenage boys and really get them to want to play for you and get them to want to do what you want them to do? Like that looks like a hard thing. I mean, I was a teenager once too. I couldn't have been easy to direct, but I'm very curious, like, what goes into your mindset when coaching with these players and connecting with them?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is you got to understand different personalities. Everybody's different, right? There's different things that make them tick and different things that will work to motivate one player that may not work for the other. I mean, I think it's important to hold all players accountable to the same standards, but, maybe your approach can be different with one kid than it can be with the other. Maybe there's some players that you need to be a little bit harder on, but then there's some that might need to soften it up a little bit with them every now and again, right? So I think it's learning what works best for which player, and then utilizing that. But I think that getting to know them on a personal level outside of the rink, understanding their family background and what their other interests are, I think that's how you can really build a good relationship with them, and that ultimately will help them want to play for you and hopefully play for us, for Avon, right? For the front of the jersey and all the players that have gone before us.
Yeah, and trust too. I think that's a big part of it too, trusting you and trusting the staff. It's interesting, like a lot of guys, when they get a prep head coaching job, it's a program that's down in the dumps. It's a program that needs to be built back up, and they're rebuilding, and it takes a couple of years. You stepped in, and you were the associate head coach before, but you stepped into the head coaching job of a team that won the Elite Eight, 2 years before. But yeah, 2 years before, and is very widely successful. I almost feel like that has its own difficulties in that, in keeping the tradition going, and to step in for someone of John Gardner's magnitude. Is that something that you feel too?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll be completely honest. There's no replacing John Gardner. Those are shoes that are almost impossible to fill. I'm aware of that. I just am trying to take what I've learned from him, things that I've learned from my time coaching and my career, and just blend it all together and be myself. Because I can't try to be Coach Gardner, because he's the one and only, and he's a legend. And so, and yeah, in coaching at Avon, it's such a privilege. But with that comes expectation, and so you want to make sure that you're as competitive as possible. And reality is you're not going to win every year. It's just the way that the sports go. But you want to hopefully be competitive and give the kids a great experience and continue to place them at the next level, and give them that opportunity to prepare for juniors and for college, and hopefully a career after that.
When I talk to a lot of prep coaches, when I bring up wins and losses and expectations and Elite Eights and small school and large school and all that stuff, they'll say, that stuff matters, but getting our kids to the next level and preparing them for life after prep, whether it's at juniors, whether it's for a college commitment, whether it's for nothing to do with hockey, is the most important thing. Do you look at that the same way too, where it's like Elite Eights are great, winning is nice, but let's make sure that these kids develop on and off the ice the best they possibly can for after?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think, to be honest, like the alums and the people that have played here, they want to see success in the team though, for sure. So it is important for us, but, it is equally as important for the players to develop. And that's, in my belief, what Avon does well as a school, right? We hopefully prepare, these young boys into good young men and ready for the next 40 years of their life. It's not necessarily about the next 4 years of high school, but it's the 40 years after that, as one parent once put it. So I think that, understanding that and developing them and as good young men is essential.
Pre-Avon, you were the head coach for South Kent's 15 team and then 16 team, and then you ended up back at Avon. I'm curious how you were there when South Kent was it's still a premier academy, but back then it was really one of the only ones, I believe, doing that. What are the big differences you see in the academy lifestyle versus the prep lifestyle? Because you've lived both.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the number of games, right, is an obvious one. I think my first year there was a bit of a COVID year, so it got interrupted a little bit. But the second year, I think we played close to 60, 70 games or so. So we were traveling a lot, right? We did have a lot of home games, but we were in hotels, on bus trips. We were going down to Pittsburgh for the USHL Fall Classic, doing a lot of these things. And so you don't have that at prep school, right? You're at least for us in the Founders League, everybody's within an hour for the most part. The furthest trip we have is maybe just close to 2 hours. So you're never in a hotel. You're always back in your own bed. You're back for study hall. You're not missing classes. So I think it's just a different lifestyle, right? I think, both can serve a purpose. So I think when people are going through and looking at it, they got to see what they're looking for in their high school experience and what a good fit is for them. Because I enjoyed my time at South Kent, but grateful to be back at Avon and just completely, different models at this point.
Yeah, I think one thing I've learned is it feels like it's just different strokes for different folks. Like there are some kids and families that the academy lifestyle is perfect. There are others that the prep school route is perfect. I don't see. I mean, sometimes they're competing for the same players. Sometimes you'll see a player jump from a prep school to an academy when they're 16 or 17. Sometimes you'll see a kid jump from an academy to a prep school when they're 16 or 17. I don't see, I remember when I started in this job, it was like academies are going to take down the prep schools. And I don't really see that. I think it's just different strokes for different folks. I don't think that they're super competitive against each other. I'm curious if you agree or disagree with that.
No, I do agree. I think, the prep school market is a pretty niche market. There's certain kids that want to get everything that a prep school offers, right? They want that full experience. And then, like you said, on the flip side, there's some that the number of games and the number of practices and all that stuff throughout the year are most important. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think both can be suitable, just depending on your outlook and what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Another thing that happened over the last year is the CHL ruling. And it's something that, it's only been a year, so there's not exactly a lot of material to go off of. But I'm curious, how did it come up for you in recruiting? How did it come up for you with your own guys and advising them? How did you sort of navigate that? Because everybody's doing it for the first time.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think, like you said, we don't know the ramifications, 3-4 years from now yet. But ultimately, it's opened up a larger pool of players and more opportunity for players to go to junior leagues, maybe at a younger age. There's just it's constantly evolving. We have guys that are drafted to some of those leagues. We've had guys forego senior year to go to those leagues. So and it's happening to everybody. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in a few years from now, if it evens out and levels out, or if it is going to stay, the way that it's been the last year or so. But I'm a big believer in just going when you're ready and dominating at where you are currently, and not rushing the process. I mean, freshmen in college are 21, and so I think again it goes back to the fit. Like, what do you want your high school experience to be? Do you want it to be a couple years at a school and then playing juniors and finishing up there? That may be the case. Or do you want to, finish out, get the diploma, be a part of the alumni network, and have that high school experience, and then go to juniors, right? So it's inevitable, juniors, for the 99% of the hockey players nowadays. So rushing there is case by case. Some people will do it, some will. I think it's good to take your time, as a lot of people probably will say, and just focus on being the best player that you can, and taking it year by year.
I think that's one of the tough things is like, you're right. You have so much junior eligibility that there seems to be and I get it. Kids see their friends going, they want to go, they want to say they have the junior logo next to their name, but there's no rush. There's no rush. I hear that from kids all the time. We have a series running on the website now about kids who left early for junior. And a lot of those kids, said, hey, look, I wish I stayed an extra year. And a lot of those kids, all the kids in that story were fully ready to go. Like you can look at their stat line, you can watch them play and go, yeah, that makes sense. They make sense to go, a year early. Like that makes sense. But even they, on the side have kind of said, hey, I wouldn't have hated having a senior prom, or I wouldn't have hated, playing my senior year and seeing how that goes. And I think too often, like I haven't heard of many kids saying that they wished they'd left a year early. I hear that they wish they stayed another year. So I'm curious,
Yeah, no, I agree. We've never had a kid, spend an extra year or decide to graduate and say they regret it. It's always typically the other way around. That being said, everybody's different, and ultimately they're doing what they think is best for them. But my advice always to them is just try to enjoy the process and graduate and have that high school experience. Because when you look back on it, that's what you're going to remember. And like you said, it's things away from the rink too. It's not just the hockey piece. It's being with your buddies in the spring and getting that diploma, and coming back to the alumni reunion, be a part of the network, making those connections, and having a fun, memorable experience as well. Because juniors will happen eventually. And when it does, you want to be ready, you want to be mature and able to attack that, and hopefully have a great year where you're in a position to succeed and hopefully have an impact on the ice.
One thing that I see now, and you see with the NHL draft prospects, seems like there's fewer and fewer in prep, and it's because those kids leave a year early, or they leave, they left 2 years before. And one question I always, ask people, I try to talk to people about is like, is prep still a good place for NHL draft prospects? Can you get picked out of prep? And Everett Baldwin got picked out of it last year. I don't think there's been a pick prior to the 5th round over the last 3 years in prep, I believe it is. What's your view on that, on NHL draft prospects in prep?
Yeah, I think, like you said, people are foregoing their final years earlier, and so the likelihood goes down when that happens. I think the same caliber of players is still coming through prep. There's still really good high-end players that are coming through. It's a matter of, will they stay there 4 years or till their senior year, right? And so I think there was still 3 last year in prep, if I'm not mistaken. So it's good to see that there still are a few, but it could be just part of the landscape where now these NHL scouts want to see them play at a junior level. I'm not really sure, but ultimately, like we had Joe Connor, right? He was here and he was on that list, and then he went out to Muskegon, and then he got drafted to Tampa Bay, and had a great year. It's something where maybe he just needed that year to be seen, and scouts wanted to see him prove it there. I don't really know, but the same caliber of players still coming through the prep school ranks. It's just a matter of when they're going to get chosen.
Well, I look at a guy like Caden Harrington at Holderness. Joe's a great example for you guys, but like Caden Harrington was a kid that there were a lot of scouts who were high on him, but their GMs kind of said, oh, he's in prep, like he's at Holderness, he's in prep, like gonna give him some time. And then the next year he tears it up in the USHL and he's a 4th round pick. And scouts are like, see, we should have drafted him the year before. And I think you see with some of these kids, even an Everett Baldwin was playing in Tampa Bay preseason games this year because he's not in college yet. And I think there can be diamonds in the rough in prep that can get overlooked because people think, oh, it's not junior hockey, but it's still good competition, and a good player is still a good player. And I think this year, just looking at the list, I think there will be more picks right out of prep than in years past. And I do think that's a good thing. And I think that's probably the right thing for prep.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think it's great. And anytime he gets guys drafted out of the league, it's awesome for everybody. And you root for those guys and hope that it happens.
Mark, I think we've covered everything. But before we go, we have to talk to our good friend, our good producer, David Yaz, for overtime.
Overtime.
Yes, welcome back to Overtime. It's the segment where I quiz both of our panelists here on questions that they are completely unprepared for. But it's overtime. Are you a man or your mouse? A man or a mouse? Get the gloves off and get ready. And Mark, you get to go first because you're a guest. Are you properly scared? Probably not. Okay. This is going to be the fill in the blank version of overtime, which means I'll read a sentence. There'll be a blank in there and you just fill it in. Doesn't have to be one word. It can be many words. Who knows? First question for you, Mark. The rise in online sports betting means blank for the sport of hockey. Now, this has been in the news a lot recently. If you haven't heard, the NBA has a little problem on their hands with sports gambling. But the rise in online sports betting means blank for the sport of hockey. What do you think, Mark?
Say it means trouble. I guess we'll see. Sports betting with the young kids, I don't know if it's always a good thing for them.
Do you think hockey lends itself to betting as much as the other sports? Do you hear about it?
I think it's probably the lowest of some of the sports, but I'm not a big online bettor, so I don't have too much of a sample size for you.
Okay. Evan, same question. Rise in online sports betting means blank for the sport of hockey.
I mean, I think it means a little bit of growth. I'm reading this book right now on how sports has become such a business. And one area, there's Ted Leonsis, the owner of the Caps and the owner of the Wizards, is huge in the sports betting. He put a ton of money, I think, into DraftKings about 10 to 15 years ago. They have a sports book at Verizon Center. It does get more people involved. Just from I'm going to watch San Jose and Anaheim tonight because I have this. And I'm not saying me, I don't do that, but many people do. And it brings in new people. I've seen it with my friends, especially with the Four Nations, where it's like, oh, this hockey's actually pretty good. So I think it does lend itself to growth. But yeah, there's some.
Yeah, I'm thinking more from the kids' standpoint, I guess. We always talk about it.
I agree with you on that.
That's where my mind went. But.
Yes, no, I agree with you.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine hockey would not have as big a problem with prop bets as they do in the NBA, because I think eventually, is that what they're called? Prop bets?
Yes.
The notion that the line on a player's rebounds in a certain game can be 1.5, and all that player has to do is, pull a muscle and walk off the court with 0 rebounds in order to manipulate a bet, and we've seen that happen already. In hockey, I don't think that's as much of a thing. I wouldn't think, because it's not that easy to score. It's not as easy to score a goal as it is to get a rebound in basketball or something like that, right? It's
harder to score and stuff like that. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Yes.
What's the stats on those sort of things? Anyway. All right, that's the gambling question. We got that out of the way. All right, Evan, question for you to begin with. Between in person and on TV, I'll probably witness blank number of hockey games this season. Now, of course.
Oh God. Well, if I include non-professional games,
yes, of course.
I don't know. I mean, like over 100, maybe.
Really?
I might be overshooting that, but prep fall.
How long the season is? What? 4 months?
Well, prep is three
right.
and a half, and then you have fall hockey, and those are a lot of days with I'll watch 2 games tonight, 2 or 3 tomorrow, 2 or 3 Sunday. So that's probably over 100.
Yeah.
I would think. So yeah, unhealthy, honestly.
You are a puckhead through and through. Mark, what do you think? Between in-person and games on TV, I'll probably see blank number of hockey games this season.
Well, I'll have to go with a little less than Evan. He's going to be there more than me. So, probably, I don't know, 50 to 75 in that range. is what I would imagine. I like to watch the NHL every night when it's on. So
You do.
Yeah, hopefully a good amount of hockey.
You take any college hockey on TV?
Yeah, I love the college too. Yep. Okay. It's great that it's right there on the streaming apps now, so you can watch it at home. It works well.
Yeah,
that ESPN Plus app, people get on ESPN Plus a lot, but to watch any NHL game and any college hockey game, it's fantastic. Like that is absolutely worth it to me.
Yeah, it is a golden era of all sports on TV. Really, I mean, it's like if you have it, I think it's great for people who obviously fans of the NHL, fans of major college hockey, but if your cousin plays for Lower Mississippi Valley Tech State, they probably don't have a hockey team. They probably don't exist.
They do not have a hockey team, but if they did, you could watch them.
It'd be everything's streaming, right? Same with high school. It's really great. I'm reminded of how much times have changed. There's a pretty good documentary on Netflix about the demise of the Montreal Expos, and sometime in the late 90s, I want to say, maybe early 2000s, they got a new owner, and the new owner was like, "Well, this franchise is in financial trouble, so the Expos aren't going to be on TV this season." And I was like, "What? That happened? An MLB team wasn't on TV at all?" Now everything's everywhere. All right, then. Final question on overtime. Mark, you can go first on this one. More than anything else, young people just starting out in hockey should know blank. More than anything else, young people just starting out in hockey should know blank. You can take that in any direction you like.
I'd say just about having fun and enjoying the process. It's a long journey. And ultimately everybody's a little different and what their goals are going to be. Some kids are just trying it for the first time. Some want to take it forever. But just have fun with it and enjoy it. It's
great advice. I know some parents of high school athletes who I wish they would take that lesson to heart and tell their kids, because you guys know this, it's no mystery, but the number of kids who play sports in high school compared to the ones that'll go on and play in college is minuscule, right? And so so many parents worried about, well, he's got to work on this part of his game, he's got to work on that part of his game, and before you know it, he's a junior, he's a senior, and now his whole experience he or she is over.
Right.
Did you remember to enjoy it? It's great advice. Pretty simple, but great advice. Evan, more than anything else, young people just starting out in hockey should know blank.
I'm with Mark. Have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun. Just have fun. And if it, always take it seriously, because that's what makes it fun. You look back on championships and big games against rivals, but when you start to go bigger picture, like if you're good enough, they will find you. Just have fun. Just have fun as a young kid. That's all that matters.
Yeah. You never know when the moment's going to come that you remember for the rest of your life. Like I played varsity basketball in high school as the co-captain of my team, and I wouldn't say I have the greatest memories from that season, probably because we were 6-12. We sucked. but I remember, but there are certain street hockey games I remember. There are certain softball games I remember when I was in my 20s, and play for the love of the sport, man. Amen.
Totally.
All that matters.
All right. You've both done very well in overtime. You survived. I'll be placing bets on my over-under for number of hockey games Evan's going to go to this year. It's starting at 172, and we'll see how that goes.
I don't know about that.
Back to you, Evan.
Well, thank you, Yaz and Mark. This has been great. This has been awesome to pick your brain on these things. Good luck this season. And that is RinkWise. I'm Evan Marinofsky. We will see you all at the rinks.